How could you say one's not funny when you haven't seen it?
Because I know who's involved in all of their songs. They're funny.
This is a very Ferg thing of you right now to just decide you don't like it before you watched it.
Hey, get your own stick, you prick.
Stealing first.
Welcome back, everyone. S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson went 6 episodes with only 1 season on NBC. They were talking about episode 1. It was called Pilot, originally airing August 5th, 2015. To get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, Joe, Ferg, Nick, and Gordo. What's going on, guys?
Heyo. Hello.
Yo.
I have to finish grading these penises.
I hope everybody here is 18, because you're about to get finger banged.
Is that what he said?
I don't think that's what he says. I think he says ear banged. Oh, would the guy who's deaf have mistook the fucking line for the show?
That's weird. When I was playing this episode on my phone while I was doing my dishes, I heard it wrong.
That might be the record start of show to Gordo getting something wrong ever. It's like less than a minute.
I mean, it makes sense, though. I think Gordo cared about this show as much as everybody involved in the show seemed to care about this show.
I want to, oh man, I'm actually I'm excited to talk about this one, but real quick, I want to welcome everyone back to, this is week 2 of our back to school month for the month of September. We're doing all school related shows. Last week we did the In-Betweeners. Now we have Mr. Robinson. We got 2 more to follow. And then quick reminder, S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to our social medias. Go there, rate, review, all the stuff that all the other podcasts ask you to do that with us as well. We really like the social media engagement, so hit us up on there. We've actually had a lot more people talking to us lately, which has been nice. So hit us up. Let us know shows you want us to cover, and we'll look at those for future episodes. And if you can, buy a t-shirt or something. We make very little money, but it's also a good promotion, and it's cool to see you guys wearing our shit. So,
also, for this episode, we do have a limited edition Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation earring.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit up Joe specifically. I'll send that to you with a little bag of empty pills.
Hey, all of my empty pills made it to their destinations, by the way. Some got a little chomped up in the mail, but they all made it. I didn't get arrested for it yet, so.
Mr. Robinson, by the way, for those of you listening right now who want to check this out, it is available on Peacock. IMDb had this at a 5.2, Rotten Tomatoes 19%, audience score 33%, not the most liked show, not the most surprising scores either, but we are going to get into this. Mr. Robinson, a show I had no idea existed until I was just searching for shows to do for back to school month. Have any of you guys even heard about this, or where are you?
I had no idea that this show existed.
One of my favorite things when we look up these shows is like, went for however many episodes from August 25th until June 26th, whatever this one is. So it was on the air for 2 weeks. I couldn't help that. It's like 6 episodes from like August 14th, August fucking 28 or whatever. You're like, Jesus Christ, that is, they just bombarded 2 episodes a week and then fucking tanked this thing.
Yeah, this was less than Aliens in the Family.
Aliens in the Family got more than this. That is an indictment.
It's funny, this is the second Craig Robinson show that existed without us even knowing about it.
Yeah, but Ghosted is great.
We covered Ghosted a while ago. Yeah, now this one.
Listen, I love the man. He's a great supporting actor. I don't think he's a good main character in anything.
I definitely was wondering that, but I don't.
I love him in Killing It. He's great as the main cast.
I haven't
in Killing
seen
It.
that yet, so I can't say anything.
We'll definitely cover Killing It. I'm glad this tanked because I think that this had to fucking get drowned so that Killing It could walk. But I think he's great as a main character in Killing It.
He's always smiling after every joke he says and everything. He even does it in Ghosted.
Do you know what the problem I had with this show is? This is Vince McMahon, right? It's like, oh, you play the fucking keyboard, huh? Well, we're going to write a show about you playing the keyboard. Yep. It's like, nope, that's not how you do this. That's just something that they also do.
Why aren't you playing jazz?
It's what the fuck?
I'll say, I definitely had that same thought at some point. Like, is it him? Is it he's just better as the number 2 guy?
And this came out, what, 2015? So this is right on the heels of The Office ending, too.
A couple years later, and there was a pilot episode, an unaired pilot episode that was like the original developmental. They recast a lot of the roles. Greg Daniels actually helped do that pilot. So I'd be interested to see that because I kind of trust Greg Daniels.
Also,
And
I'm shocked this is an NBC show, because if you told me this was a Netflix sitcom, I would have fully believed you.
it doesn't look like they
Agreed.
put the budget. Yeah, it looks cheap.
I think also that it's like the kids in school with the teacher, but he's kind of hip and but like that's very Netflix now. You know what I mean? Also, one of the main characters in the show was in a number of episodes of the Big Show show.
Was it Big Show Maddie? Ah!
Big Show actually played the keyboard in this episode.
We talk. If you guys want to go back, we covered the Big Show a while ago. I actually think the Big Show could have starred in a sitcom. He has the chops. The show just sucked.
Yeah, I would hope they give him another chance to do it because that show was bad, but he was fun in it.
We can't tangent too long because I really want to talk about this episode. But that episode, I stand by. The problem is they made a show for kids, and the whole focus is, hey, look, it's the Big Show. Kids don't know who he is. Make a show for adults.
Yeah.
Where some sitcoms, it's about the adults, not the children, and they try to focus on the children. But the star of the show was the person that the kids won't know. So I don't know.
This one's like that too, though, where it's like, hey, let's all sing Janet Jackson. Like, those kids don't know what that is. And like, who is this for? Because it's sort of about the kids.
This
And then
one's
he gets-
not.
It's not for
Nah,
kids
this one's
at
not
all.
for kids though. Not that it's not for kids, but this one isn't aimed for children.
Sure.
Where that show looked like it was a Disney show.
I don't think this one's for anyone.
Well,
That's also fair.
that's another argument that could be made.
When I say cancel, you say this show. Cancel this show.
I'll tell you, I've had some idea. I feel like I could have. I'm no expert, but at this point, this is the 179th time I've sat here and talked about a pilot episode of a show. So I think I do have a little bit of an idea of how these things work, and this show is fixable. This show is very fixable. So we might as well get into it.
I think it's fixable, but you'd have to rewrite this pilot.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's not like fixable down the line. It needs to be fixed from the get-go.
I think this show with this premise ish, switch a couple things you got to switch with the same exact cast could have worked.
I think Joe kind of touched on it. I think the main problem is not the main problem. One of the problems I don't like specifically is the music teacher thing, because they are leaning too much into him being a musician. And it's just like, he could have just been the fun teacher. Like, he didn't need to be the music teacher and play keyboard and like, but then they lose the band that they're, I don't know. I didn't like that aspect of it at all.
I don't see the full hate for this show.
This is the one you like.
I don't think this show's terrible. Don't get me wrong. It's not terrible.
No, like Joe makes it seem like that we put a gun to his head and made him watch like the bastard child of like Homeboys in Outer Space and like Aliens in the Family.
No, this is not a Gordo show. I do not hate this like a Gordo show. I watch this and glean some enjoyment out of it. It's just not a good show.
Hey.
You make us watch complete fucking utter garbage.
Hey. Who made you had a meltdown?
A lot of things have made me have a meltdown.
Hey,
Hey. I think he's referring to Selfie, which is the first.
thank you.
Oh,
Jay
Selfie.
speaks Gordo.
Jesus fucking Christ, Selfie.
Hey, see?
But to go back to what Nick said, I think it had to be the music thing, because they needed something like a MacGuffin for him to have to make the choice between one thing or another. So music had to be.
Do you mean, actually, Ferg, do you mean they needed a hook?
They needed a hook.
All right. Well, let's get into the episode itself, and we'll talk about some of these things as we get into them. So the show starts. We see Craig and his band, the Nasty Delicious, and they're playing at a
I
club.
love the name.
I do like the name.
And it starts exactly. We already know Craig Robinson is someone who plays piano and stuff, and like this has been his shtick. We've seen it in The Office. We saw it in Hot Tub Time Machine. They are using it again here. You could say they're either leaning into what we already know or they're playing to his strength.
And he is a great musician. We're not knocking that.
So he's sitting there playing, and he's like kind of the lead singer of the band, and then playing, and he's also kind of emceeing, and he's talking about the song called Chocolate Muffins, saying it's not double entendre, but it is.
Muffin's obviously backwards to sniff him, as we learned from Ned and Stacey.
What I couldn't figure out is, are they supposed to be a comedy band, or is that just show jokes?
So I don't think they're supposed to be a comedy band
Okay.
necessarily. It's supposed to be sexual.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I couldn't tell if it was that was their gimmick, is we tell all these funny double entendre songs, and because they always pan to the crowd watching them laughing.
I think because he's charming, but it's supposed to be sexual in a way that you do sexual in a sitcom.
I do feel like, too, though, this is the same thing he says every time they play this song, which I find, like, when you see a band live and you're like, oh, this is your shtick, this is what you do in the song every time it's rehearsed. Like, that's, I don't know, that makes me feel gross.
Are the chocolate muffins the T or the A?
That's what I asked. Is it butter boob? I don't know, because...
I thought it was the balls.
Because he said he's going to add his sprinkles and icing.
No, the bowl is the balls. If you lick the bowl, it feels funny but good, I think. Oh my god, I fucking hate this. I hate that we're talking about this.
Hate this show, and I hate this conversation.
It's so aggravating. Oh, don't lick the bowl, baby. Like, I was like, that's a fucking minute in. I fucking hate this.
I know what the icing is. I think we all know what the icing is. What are the sprinkles?
I thought the same
Pubes.
Is that the chunky dick snot?
Oh, cut the what the fuck?
Toxic Avenger 4.
Chunky dick snot?
You have, I will say, in the New England area,
The words.
there's probably a dozen people who would have got that reference, and 3 of them are in this room. So, yeah, the song has a lot of stuff like that, though. It's just all sex references about making muffins, apparently.
But not good ones.
No, and the whole thing goes back with that. Throughout the episode, we get this whole thing. I guess this is the band's big line: is when I say preheat, you say oven. And
Also, who frosts muffins?
well, yes, that's a cupcake at that point.
Yeah, at that point, it's no longer a muffin, right?
Did you say a cum cake?
No, but
No.
I'll give it to you. If you're gonna switch in teams, then that's fine.
I'm switching teams to this one.
which we're trading.
Sorry, Joe. You're on Team Fart now.
I don't want to be on that team. I
Yeah.
don't want to be on Gordo's team right now either, but I guess I'm gonna be I'm the bat boy.
We're goo boys.
No, you're off the team. You're off the team.
Actually, you know what? I will be a goo boy, Gordo. I'll be goo boy with you.
I guess I'm off the team.
Oh, the Goo Goo Boys, my favorite band from the mid-90s.
So after singing this song, Craig notices this girl walking down the stairs, like entering the club. And he's kind of like singing, but addressing her. So like he's doing both at the same time. He's like, oh, I don't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special lady in the house tonight. And this one girl in the crowd goes, I love you, Craig. And he goes, not you, baby. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. But then he introduces Victoria.
Wouldn't the better move here be start playing the song Victoria for like a few bars?
No.
No. They're in the middle of a song.
I don't know. I would have taken them being like Victoria for 2 seconds and back into his song.
Sure, but that's probably like one of those things where it's like, we thought about that, and then we found out that would cost $7,000, so we didn't
The
do it.
Kinks were like, we want money for that. No. They were like, we have no budget for this show. We fired Greg Daniels.
Yeah, the whole music budget went to Janet Jackson, so she enters, through singing still, is trying to kind of set up the situation where he wants to go over and talk to her. So they close out. My name's Craig Robinson, and then you get his brother, and I'm Ben Robinson, and we are the Nasty Delicious. Ben Robinson, we see him throughout the episode. Do you guys recognize him from anything?
Nope.
Maybe if he was drinking a can of booty sweat?
Oh, no shit. Is that him?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know him from Tropic Thunder.
He's
Gordo
that. He's also in Fast and
wouldn't know
Furious 4.
I have seen Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder I've seen. Fast and Furious 4 I have not seen.
Well, you're missing out because Fast and Furious 4 is when the movies actually get good again. Because after Tokyo Drift, we were like, aside from the part with Statham at the end, this movie kind of
I
sucks.
would just like to stay.
Tokyo Drift was great.
Tokyo Drift is so bad.
I like Tokyo Drift. Joe, okay, you can't like Fast and the Furious and then call one of them bad. Like they're all
Yeah,
bad.
they're
1,
all
2,
bad.
and 3 are objectively bad movies.
1, 2, and 3 were the last time they were good.
Dude, that first one is the worst. Where he's like undercover cop and they're going after the TVs. No,
But that's
not
what
a good
makes
movie.
it good, is how bad
That's
it is.
when the show was still about car racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't fun. Like them going to space or going in submarines or.
Just watch James Bond.
I do, but they don't make them anymore. It's been like 10 years since the last James Bond movie. I need something to satiate me.
So, moving along. We get the quick transition of the intro, kinda. It's just a train going by, and it like reveals the name Mr. Robinson.
Are you gonna have a show like this and not have a fun jingle? Like it could be him singing it and performing it.
It's about
like...
a musician.
It's about music, and your main star, is a musician, and you don't utilize that for the theme.
It's almost like people didn't think about this when they're writing it. It's almost like the guys who wrote Gary the Rat for fucking Spike TV made a TV show, and weirdly it didn't work.
Lester the Rat.
From Beekman?
Yeah.
Can we just cover Beekman's World this week instead? Because I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'd be happy to talk about it.
He's still on TV. He's on some weird network, and he's like really old.
Like hanging out with like Sven Gulli or something.
Next scene, now we have Craig sitting at the bar with this girl, Victoria. And we're learning through the conversation that he's calling her the one that got away. Apparently, Craig and her were supposed to go to prom together. He stood her up at prom, and this is kind of his big regret because now here she is again, and she's an attractive girl. And just when she's like kind of catching up like with him, she's the total package, right? She's a good-looking girl. She went to Princeton, then she worked on Wall Street for a while.
Meagan Good,
like,
by the way. She's in a shitload of things.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, and I figured I'd give back, so now I'm just teaching at the old high school that we went to together. Yeah, she has a pretty good IMDb.
This is crazy too, because you set this woman up to be like the heart of the show. Like, hey, she made a lot of money, but she wanted to give back, so she came back to her old school. Now she's teaching. She's like giving back to these kids, and you see her for like another 2 minutes in the entire episode. It's like not about the heart of this show at all.
And she's not even in the whole series.
Right.
Oh, she's not in the whole. She didn't make all 6
There's
episodes.
6 episodes. She's in 4 of them.
He was in Cousin Skeeter, which I'm sure we'll cover someday from Nickelodeon.
The Bill Bellamy Muppet show.
Yeah,
What's Bill Bellamy doing these days?
Coke.
Okay, sure. Why not? Somewhere Bill Bellamy's ears are burning. He's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck did I do?
They just caught some shrapnel for no reason right there.
So he's like, oh, that's crazy. You teach at our old high school. Like, I do some substitute teaching, like when I'm broke. And she's like, oh, maybe we'll run into each other sometime when you're out of money. It's like, well, I'm out of money right now. And she walks off. And I'm thinking, like, to dissect the scene, why did she go to this club?
I thought maybe he invited her, but it's never established.
No,
Yeah,
like she just
I
walks in alone, talks to him for 2 minutes, and leaves.
No, it looks like it's at the end of the night.
But that has nothing to do with what I said.
Even still, they're in a big city. There are bars everywhere. If you're alone and you just want to get a drink, the last place you're going to go is into a bar where there's active music happening. Because that's just, you don't know, you're walking into something, it's going to be loud.
It just didn't make sense for her to just like randomly walk in and go like, Victoria?
Maybe she was walking by, she just got out of another bar and saw his picture in front of this bar and was like, oh, it's my old friend from school. I'm going to go support him.
I would love that, but you're doing a lot of work for her right
They were
now.
trying to get the two of them to bump into each other, but like her just walking in mid-song and then leaving 5 minutes later just seemed a little odd.
They should have established that it was the teacher's bar. That like, this is where all the people who teach at that school go to drink.
Yeah, she should have been with a couple people, like be with someone. You know what I mean? She walked in alone. Like she could have had a couple friends with her and he could have still sidebarred and talked to her for a minute.
I thought he called her Victoria when she first came in.
No, this is again,
He might have, actually. I mean, that would be...
I don't recall Victoria. Again, weirdly, the Gordo's doing it, but I think that's... Is she thick, though? I'm not here to make that judgment call. I don't
She
know.
is thick.
And the bootay.
I mean, Ben does mention her bootay very soon after this.
I think he does say Victoria.
I mean, I only saw her for her brain, so I don't know. We're not sexist here at S1E1.
Okay, so she leaves, Ben walks up, and he is quick to mention her booty and her eyes and her booty. And like, wow, you really messed up, like blowing her off at prom. He's like, I know, but the only reason I did that was because that was when we were offered our first paying gig. Like, I had to give us a shot.
I hate this. First of all, it's like, man, you shouldn't have blown that girl off 22 years ago. Like, first of all, that's weird, right? Like, holding a flame for some girl you almost went to prom with, like, when you're 40, that's just fucking weird looking backwards. Second of all, your first paying gig, like, it's not that big of a deal. They could have some shitty paying gig for, like, $8.
Yeah.
I was in bands all through high school. We played gigs that got paid all the time. I still went to our prom.
And you were the prom king.
And I was the goddamn prom king.
Imagine Greg Robinson could have been the prom king.
He fucked up.
It's like right as soon as he sees her, like Craig's like instantly in love with her. So now he's like, I gotta figure out a way to get her. And Ben's like, oh, maybe you should hide under a desk and just like, pop up like a Jack in the Box.
Because that works.
Yeah, that's not weird at all.
I think they needed to do a better job in like having his life suck. So it's like, oh, that's the one that got away. That'll turn my life around. But they make it seem like they're semi-successful.
We hear another girl in this scene say, "I love you."
She walks in and she's like, hey, what's going on? Just so you know, I'm really smart and successful now. Talk to you later. And leaves.
That's also weird too, because that's him being like, I was really attracted to you and your personality when you were 18. Now we're adults who've lived these crazy lives. I'm sure we have everything in common we did back then too. Like, it's a weird thing to think.
So now in the next scene, we cut to the teacher's lounge at the school. And I felt like this was like a weird way to introduce all these characters without Craig or Victoria being there.
See, I actually didn't hate this because it gets him to not be the central focal point of this scene. You actually meet the other people and you have their relationships together and then introduce him in.
I don't know. I just felt like Victoria could have started off in the room and then left or just something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just, to me, it felt awkward because he doesn't work at the school. So now we're you know, like he's going to, it's Mr. Robinson. We know it's going to end up there, but to just cut into the school and being introduced to all new characters and we don't know why we're talking to them yet. I don't know. It just, to me, felt off in the moment when it happened. But we have 3 different teachers. We have like the gym teacher, the like science teacher, and the math teacher, right? Ashley's the math teacher, I think.
I only like the gym teacher.
I think he was he was probably my favorite part of the whole show.
PE Magnum.
Magnum PE.
Are you not familiar with Tom Selleck's TV show, Magnum PI?
I'm not going to talk anymore. PE Magnum.
Girl's like, yeah, Tom Selleck, that guy who sells reverse mortgages on TV, right?
You know, Selleck Tom.
Gordo, did you think that was a P.T. Barnum reference?
No.
No, I didn't.
Well, this is the greatest show on earth, so that makes all the sense in the world.
These 3 teachers are all talking. Ashley, though, is talking about how asked what weighs more, 1 ton of metal or 2,000 pounds of wood. And the kid wrote, my penis weighs more, and drew a picture of it.
To be fair, where is this kid? He should be a character. He's funnier than anything else.
Jimmy,
on
the
the show.
PE teacher, goes, well, if that's the scale, this kid isn't going to need school. It's pretty good. And then at this point, Craig walks in and saying like, hey, everyone, I'm Craig. I'm the music sub for the week. And he's like, Ashley? And he like gives her a hug. It's like, oh, how do you guys know each other? Oh, we taught in the suburbs together. He's like, you still dancing at the Booty Bungalow? She's like, Friday nights, just paid off the lake house. Now I'm looking for some rental properties. And the other teacher's like, you're a stripper? Yeah, what did you think I meant when I said I worked on the polls? He's like, climate change.
I actually like that as a bad sitcom joke.
Climate change, no. Polls, I would have went like an election thing.
Yeah.
I would have went election thing too.
Also, that's Kelsey Grammer's daughter. We didn't mention
Yeah,
that.
I was going to bring that up.
One of 2 weird Frasier references in this episode.
Yeah. Spencer Grammer. She actually does like a lot of voice work. She has done a ton of Rick and Morty. I don't know. I don't want people to get mad. I don't watch Rick and Morty, but she plays a character like pretty consistently on there.
Well, do you know the name?
Yeah, she is the voice of Summer Smith.
Oh, that's the granddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She was also in that show Greek. She was like a main character in that was on for a bunch of years.
Is it about Greeks or fraternities?
Fraternities.
Okay.
I had no idea that that's her voice. That's crazy.
I've never seen Rick and Morty either. I know that show has like a humongous fan base.
Joe, you would like Rick and Morty.
You know what one blew my mind? With Rick and Morty, Chris Parnell does the voice of the dad whose name's escaping me, but it's so obviously him, and I like just found out it was him. So now I'm like mad at myself.
It even looks like him.
A very defined voice.
Yeah.
Like once a month, I watch the video of Chris Parnell in the SNL sketch where they chew up food and spit it into each other's mouths, and he talks about how he has a soft palate, and it's the kind of thing that will make your like shitty day at work better.
You love Lazy Sunday? I know how much you love The Lonely Island.
I don't know what that is because I know 1 or 2 Lonely Island songs. I hate them so much I would never seek out another.
You watched The Office, right? And you remember Lazy Scranton?
Yes.
That was a direct parody of the Lonely Island Lazy Sunday.
Oh, so they made one that was funny. Good for them. The Office, not Lazy.
How could you say one's not funny when you haven't seen it?
Because I know who's involved in all of their songs. They're funny. Dick in a Box is the dumbest thing that's ever happened.
Full circle Tokyo Drift here.
This is a very Ferg thing of you right now to just decide you don't like it before you watched it.
Hey, get your own stick, you prick.
Stealing first. The sleeves of my shirt roll up into a tank top. All of a sudden, my hat goes sideways.
So anyway, yes, Ashley walks out after talking to Craig, and that's when Jimmy walks up to talk to Craig.
Real quick, how do you feel about her being a stripper and a teacher?
I'm okay with it. It was just a really random side fact about her.
This show is like,
Oh, I liked it.
I don't know how to explain it, but like the whole like starting off with like frosting titties and like stuff like this. I feel like they're trying to like wedge like more R-rated stuff into this like needlessly, because I feel like this stuff can be funny. It doesn't seem to be done the right way.
Her being a stripper is a really weird side fact that I would have. I don't really get it, but
Yeah.
maybe something you tell us later. You know what I mean? Like that could be like a weird thing we find out down the road.
I just don't think it's believable in a world in 2015. Like when we were in high school, if there was a teacher who also did stripping as like a side gig, you have plausible deniability, right? Like with the internet and cell phones with cameras and all this stuff, like kids would have found that out and it would have become an issue with the school.
Well, she's like super open about it, which is weird.
Sure.
If this was, keep in mind the show happened like almost a decade ago. Modern day, it would have been like an OnlyFans type thing.
Yeah, feed pics on OnlyFans.
But those stories pop up too, like teachers get discovered on OnlyFans and lose their job.
But that's what happens if people lose their jobs. They find that out. I mean, we're at a point right now where people are like fighting over books because like a squirrel's gay in the school. Like I imagine if somebody found out a stripper was working there, somebody would complain enough that it would cause an uproar.
In this case, he should have been more like, Ashley, what's going on? You still working at that? And she should have been like, "Brr," and like stopped him. You know what I
Right.
mean?
But she said, no, that's my sister, Jennifer, which would be her stripper name because they all have stage names.
So it could have been like one of those things where he knows and she's like, doesn't want ever, but she's like, hell yeah, I bought a lake house. Like it just seemed very weird for her to be that open about it in the school.
Do you think this is a throwback or a callback rather to his character in Zack and Mary Make a Porno? Because isn't he the strip club MC in that?
Ooh.
Oh wait, no, I
think
think he's the strip club MC in the Goods.
I haven't seen The Goods in a long time. I saw that in the theater and that was it.
Isn't he DJ Request in the Goods and he works at the strip club and then he comes and does the...
Zach and Mary, he's just their friend, I think.
He's just their friend, right? Yeah, okay. I think it's the Goods. It's been a while, but I think that's what it is.
To get back into this, Jimmy, the PE teacher, walks up and he introduces himself. He's like, but my name's Jimmy Hooper. Everyone calls me Magnum PE. And the other guy's like, no, we don't. Craig's quick to notice like he's dressed up like a old tennis player. Like, what's with the tennis getup? He's like, I played professional from 89 and 91. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Why'd you stop? It basically sounds like he had like a wild life on the road, his answer. But why is he still dressed like he's playing tennis actively, though?
He mentions, too, like a German and Czech tennis player from the 80s who apparently were very... I had to look them up. I did not know this. I had to look this up. And I was like, oh, they must have been like wild people, like a Johnny McEnroe type of character. Like, nope, it was just like two really good tennis players from Germany and the Czech Republic.
That's the thing. When you go tennis player joke, like of all sports, people know the Serena. I'm sorry, they are Venus and Serena, McEnroe, and Andre Agassi. Like, you
there's
can't
only
just
so many.
throw names out there like, oh, I know them. That famous tennis player.
Look, I appreciate throwing out like an obscure thing because I feel like that's gonna make a certain crowd like pop or whatever. But like, how many obscure 1980s tennis fans are like? That's very, very specific.
One guy's going, oh.
Yeah, that's me. I know that guy. Like, okay, Igor or Ivan or whatever. Like, I'm glad you got a call out. Like, that's cool for you.
I think he should have had like an extra line in there somewhere though about like that he likes the way his like thighs look in them or something. Like, what? Okay, you were a tennis player 30 something years ago. Why are you still dressed?
He's supposed to be that like Uncle Rico type guy who like that was the greatest time of his life, so he's stuck in that period forever.
This also could have been a thing where it's like, I usually wear them when I go visit Ashley at the Booty Bungalow. Like, you could have at least gone somewhere with it.
I don't mind him dressed that way. I just felt like they're trying to justify it, and I don't know. They just needed one more line there. So they're continuing to talk, and Craig's like bringing up Victoria. It's like, what do you guys know about her? It's like, oh yeah, she's in the room right next to yours. She's pretty hot. He's like, yeah, we were supposed to go to prom together, I didn't end up going. He's like, oh, crabs? No. He's like, yeah, I didn't go to my prom either. He's like, tennis? No, crabs.
I did like that exchange.
That was a good exchange.
But like, you could still go to the prom with crabs. You just couldn't. You get like the, what is it, like 8200 over the shampoo stuff is? I imagine you can go and still hang out. You just don't have any like sexual time, right? Did anybody have sexual time at the prom? Because I certainly didn't. I don't know if anybody else did.
Negative. I was with all of you guys.
Yeah, we were all together. Nobody had sex at the prom.
I know, you asked
so
the
if we had
question
crabs,
like
it
we didn't
wouldn't
all
have mattered.
spend after prom together. That was the night. You know, I got a bad rug burn down my whole back, but not from anything sexual. It was because I decided at like 3 a.m. that I wanted continental breakfast, and that's when
We had to drag you down the hallway.
everyone was like, Jay, it's way too early to get continental breakfast because we were like just partying in the room all night. And I had just started. I didn't drink all through high school. So I didn't like have my first drink until like the last week of high school. So by prom, this is like the first or second time I've ever been like properly drunk. And I'm sitting there very much wanting this continental breakfast. And everyone's trying to tell me, no, this is an inappropriate time to do so. I wrestle everybody off of me and run down the hallway, and then eventually stumble over and fall on my own. And then 2 people grab me from each leg and drag me all the way down the hall back into the room. And my whole back was rug burn after that.
I remember this very vividly, even though I was very drunk. I do remember you saying you wanted continental breakfast.
I will say though, for your first sort of few times getting drunk, you really got that thing that really kicks in where you're like, all I want is breakfast food, which is like such a drunk thing. Like, all I want is an omelet right now.
It's weird. Like, I don't know if it's because it was like maybe one of the first times I ever drank and the fact that it was prom, but there's so many details of that day and night that are so burned into my brain that I feel like, you know, so many things have been deleted over the years, but that one I can almost, you know, still see it.
They're just core memories, yeah.
Next scene, we have Craig, and he's walking into his classroom for the first time, right as it's about to start. And he introduces himself to all the kids. He's like, hey, I'm Mr. Robinson. I'm here for the week. You can call me Craig, Mr. C, MC Craigie Craig. He's like, I'm not like other teachers. I went to the school. I'm one of you guys.
This felt very Mr. Cotter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweat dog.
He wants the kids to find him to be relatable. And he's like, listen, we're not just here to listen to music. We're going to make some music. And then you get one of the kids, but we don't have any instruments. He's like, oh, that's where you're wrong. And he's like, you are the instruments. And then the one weird kid goes, I am the instrument of death. He's like, all right, that was a weird thing to say.
This is so funny.
Yeah,
though.
I loved that too. That kid is definitely funnier than I thought he should be, but I laughed at everything he said.
DJ Playbook.
Phone book. What did you... Were you huffing paint before this episode started? Like, what did you do this week?
No, he just doesn't watch. He doesn't watch the episodes. DJ Playbook.
Yeah, he's really into football strategy.
I thought that's what he said.
This character, like that line I thought was funny, but there was a couple times where I thought it was like too random and weird. Yeah.
This should have been the only line like that, and they should have had one per episode.
After he says that, he goes, that was weird. What's your name? And he says, DJ Quan Fook. And he goes, oh, okay, DJ Phone Book. Come up here. And then he calls a few of the other kids up. Looks at one kid, he's like, what's your name? Lance? He's like, nah, too white. What's your real name? He goes, DeAndre. And I thought he was just lying about his name being DeAndre to appease Craig, but he's listed as DeAndre. So Lance was his fake white name?
Yeah, what was that? I don't understand
That makes no sense. It's like a very ethnically diverse group of people. Why would he have a fake white name?
That's what I was gonna say. It wasn't like he was in like an all white school where he was trying to fit in. It was like a very diverse classroom. But whatever. I don't know. And I feel like if we talk about it, I'm just gonna say something that's gonna get me in trouble. So
Moving on.
I don't know enough about the subject, so I don't want to speak out of like ignorance. And then he calls a couple others. You got the girl that's on the phone that he calls up, and then he has the other girl who's shy, Hallie, and he really wants her to like come out of her shell. So he's like, Adele, Lady Gaga, Elvis, George Harrison, like, you know what they all had in common? And then DJ Playbook was like hermaphrodites, which I kind of did not see that coming.
Yeah, I think it was just so out of left field that you were like, wait, what?
And then, the other girl's like, I just Googled it. They were all shy. He's like, yeah, they were all shy.
I'm glad they named one of the good Beatles too, not one of the bad ones.
I mean, I'll give you that.
I'm not going to get baited into that conversation. Joe saw Pete Best live.
Yeah, you know what? He was
Like,
fucking terrible, but great.
That's Joe's favorite Beatle, Pete Best.
I mean, that's not shocking. But I do love how Pete Best did. Was it Pete? Yeah, Pete Best released an album called Best of the Beatles.
Yeah.
And it was just like his awful solo record.
It was like him playing along the Beatles songs, which when I saw him live was just him playing along the Beatles songs. It was like 2004. It was great. There's also another drummer because he couldn't just drum himself still. It was really fucking fun. He played right before Bo Diddley. It was a weird day.
He's trying to talk to this girl and just get her out of her comfort zone and participate. And he's like, come on, what do you say? She's like, no. It's like, all right, I respect that. Anybody else? Anybody? And you see most of the class has their hands up, but he's not looking at any of them. He's just looking at her the whole time. Anybody? Someone want to join? And she eventually agrees. And he's like, all right, great. So he does this kind of exercise with them where he's having them go like, all right, repeat after me. Ba. And the kid goes, ba. And then ba.
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 Like that. All right. So essentially that where he's just doing all different tones. And then he starts pointing at them in order. And he's like having them do it. And it's creating a beat. And then it turns into them just doing that Iggy Azalea song, Fancy.
I was going to say, I looked up, I was like, what song is? I had no clue what this was.
So yeah, so they start doing the beat by him like being the conductor, and then he starts singing the Iggy Azalea song, and then the whole rest of the class. At that time, that song was pretty big, so it's like it's timely from when the show came out.
That's like a famous person.
Iggy Azalea, yes.
She's kind of a one-hit wonder, honestly. Maybe like two.
She had a run. She actually wasn't that bad for what she was, and then she was also known for being like attractive, so that in her butt became like a thing. Google her if you want.
I mean, I probably won't, but like, I'll take your word for it that she's somebody.
If you
popular,
actually,
sure.
if you go back and watch the music video for that song that they were singing, it is all Clueless themed. So she's dressed up like Claire, and it's all in the class, and the other people in the video dressed up like different characters from Clueless. So
she's a virgin who can't drive.
yes,
Fair.
so they're all doing the song together, and everyone's getting like really into it, and then everyone starts applauding, and then like he's like, come on, and he like gets them to applaud even harder, and they're all pounding on the desks. And that's when Victoria runs in the classroom because of all the noise. She's like, what's going on in here, Craig? And he goes, shock and awe, baby. I'm here to ask you out. And I'm like, that's so weird.
Yeah, that
so
is weird.
Also, I will say this. We had music classes in our, not in high school. That shit was where they were like, no, we have football, no music. Fuck you. But when we had music class in like middle school and elementary school, I remember
We had music up until high school.
that's what I'm saying. In high school, we didn't have it.
No, there was a music class in high school. You just didn't take it.
Though there was a band or whatever, but even then, right? So that was separated out. When we had music classes in middle school, it was next to the cafeteria. In elementary school, it was on the third floor.
I remember that, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are like the math teacher, you probably are used to, or like it's not crazy to hear a lot of music coming from the room next door when it's the music class.
I know. The way she comes over, it's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck did you expect?
She comes over like an angry neighbor, like, what's all this noise?
It's a music class with no instruments. They say it when he asks them to like, we're gonna make music. We don't have instruments.
Sure, but you'd imagine they're playing music at some point or something like.
But what do they normally do in a music class when they don't have any instruments
Music
or anything?
theory.
Like,
They have a piano.
in fairness, when we had middle school,
Yeah, we didn't play
music,
instruments.
we didn't have instruments either, and we just had a piano.
We just listened to For Whom the Bell Tolls while sitting next to each other.
So, yeah, so for you guys listening,
We didn't
when we're-
start the fire all day.
when we were in middle school, our music teacher, who I don't want to assume, but I'm going to assume RIP.
She has to be.
Have to? I would be very surprised. She's alive and she's a listener. How you doing,
Yeah.
Mrs. B?
I'm alive.
I like Mr. Robinson.
Yeah. So, finally, someone's covering Mr. Robinson. Wait a minute. Jesus.
I was a ghostwriter on this show. I was a consultant.
Now I'm just a ghost.
Time for Spooky Dookie.
Oh, it's terrible. She's probably actually dead. All right. So, anyways, so in middle school, when we had our class, there was like, she would do like part of a lesson, which wasn't that long. And then basically half of every class was she had a folder of songs and it was all like music sheets. And it was like playing roulette because some of the songs, they were all like popular songs, or at least, they were hits at one point in time. And depending on the song, she would either play like a cassette and play the song for you and you just listen to it and read along with the lyrics, Or she would do a piano version of it. And you definitely didn't want to get the piano version. So you had to hope that you picked a song that she was just going to play the actual song.
Yeah, but to be fair, how mad are you that we didn't get a moment where she played Olive for Whom the Bell Tolls on piano?
That would have been fun. Yeah. And that was one of those things like when we messed up because she said if you submit songs and stuff, like I'll add it to the folder, but you just don't do it. So basically some kid 10 years before us gave For Whom the Bell Tolls and we got to benefit from it, but we never added our own music.
No, didn't we add the
No,
Offspring?
she eventually got a CD player, and then it was just bring in whatever CD you want.
All I remember is watching her play Obla Di Obla Da on the piano maybe a billion times.
And Crocodile Rock. She loved to play Crocodile Rock on the piano. She definitely got her Elton on.
That December song. Late December back in 60.
Oh, What a Night? Oh, yeah, that
Yes.
was a song.
Yeah. That was a big one too, yeah.
And In the Middle of the Night too, right?
Yeah.
And Runaway Train Never Gone.
That
Hello,
too, yeah.
Asylum.
And then, oh, you know what? We were in that class when the Macarena was huge.
Fuck yeah.
And we would always stand up in the back and do the Macarena to that.
Man, remember how cool Joe was when he would just yell out punk rock? We'd inside the fire.
I was pretty cool when I was 11, guys. Speaking of that, though, do you remember when she would tell us to bring in CDs? Well, I forget who it was. One of us brought in Green Day Kerplunk, right? Because Green Day was obviously huge at that point. And she was like, oh, My Generation, like The Who, we'll play that one. But like, I don't know if you remember their version of that on Kerplunk, but at one point it stops and like smash a bunch of bottles and he just goes, oh, fuck this shit. And she like lost her fucking mind. Like she just thought it was going to be like this fun, like The Who cover. And she's like, oh, the 60s, I remember that. And just got people screaming, swearing. Oh, fucking times.
I vividly remember somebody picking Offspring and then playing like the worst song from the record.
It's like the first song on, what's it called? No, not Americana. Not Ixnay.
No. You're talking about Session. I was talking about, fuck!
Yeah.
From
Ah,
Ignition.
it's the side of Ignition.
Ignition, yes, thank you, yeah.
Yeah. R.I.P. I think. So,
I assume.
Also, R.I.P. Good Offspring.
well,
That's
we don't have time
debatable.
for this. One of the newer songs sounds decent. One of them doesn't
Yeah,
sound
they did
decent.
50-50 at that on those two, yeah, which is strange.
And I think Joe likes both of them for some reason, but one's terrible. Anyways,
Well, his favorite song is Original Prankster.
I do have a 31 tattoo.
it's Cruising California.
I don't even know what that one is.
It's bad. So now we have Craig and Victoria, and they're in the hallway together. And she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, just I'm subbing. Must be fate, right? And he's like, hey, let's just pick up where we left off. And she's like, oh, like, I have a boyfriend. And he goes, is he bigger than me? And like, actually, yeah, he is. And then he says, we're like two chili peppers that got separated from
you
batch
skipped a
20
part.
years ago.
Yeah, you skipped a part that
Yeah.
makes that joke actually funny. Craig says, is he bigger than me? And she says, from what I remember, yeah. So like
It
she
was a
makes a
dick
joke
joke.
about them
Yeah.
having sex when they were in high school.
I didn't pick up on the dick joke.
I'm
I'm
surprised.
told that's why you got kicked off of Team Dicks.
It was never Team Dicks.
Oh, well, Team Cum will come up in the next
I'm
scene.
not even sure. You guys all felt the same way when you watched that. You thought it was a dick joke.
Yeah, you missed the line that insinuated the dick joke.
From where I remember, where else would that come from? She saw his dick when they were dating and when they were young.
Yeah, I literally have in my notes from what I can remember, yes, like quoted out.
Huh. I guess like the fact that they were just supposed to go to prom and they didn't go, like I didn't think that they would have had much sexual history. It didn't seem like there was much behind their relationship, quote unquote.
I don't know, he's a cool guy in a band.
All right, well, I messed up. So anyways, he then says, hey, we're like two chili peppers that got separated from a batch 20 years ago, later got thrown together into the same mole. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, we're spicy. Like, that was so fucking dumb.
Somebody wrote
That was such a long fucking road to take for that joke.
It was.
And then after that weird joke is when the principal walks in, Principal Taylor, played by, what's his name? Gilpin?
Peri, I think it is, right?
I only remember this guy from Employee of the...
No, this is Roz from
Oh,
Frasier.
Peri. I wrote it wrong. I wrote Pero in my notes. Peri.
Pero.
Perro, it's a luchador.
That fucking dog, yeah.
Perro Roz.
Yeah, so Peri Gilpin, my apologies, Roz. She walks up and
Yeah, okay, no, my bad.
yeah, she's like, what do we have here? And she's like, oh, Principal Taylor, this is our new music sub. He like introduced himself as like, she's like not very warmed to him right from the start. Victoria leaves and she gets on him really quick for not checking in this morning. He's like, oh yeah, I was going to do that, but then the bell rang, so I just didn't. And she's like, oh, you think you're funny? Think life's a big joke? Gliding around with your Cocoa Crisp hair and your regal Nubian glow? I've met 1,000 Craig Robinsons. I'm like, what the fuck? Basically, like, there's an underlying joke that she's just really into black guys, but it comes off. When she says it this time, I was like, is she kind of racist? But then it turns into, but then you realize she's just into black guys, but it kind of came off racist the first time she said it.
They wrote this character, and she's just confusing. It's just every show needs a Dwight now, and that's where she's kind of filling.
But I didn't really get that vibe from her.
Oh, I do. She's the stickler who's always pissed off, and
Well, she's like a no nonsense, but yeah, but has a soft spot for black dudes.
Did anybody else think, though, I know it's so stupid, but like whenever I hear the word Nubian, I just think of Jason Lee and Mallrats.
What's a
What's a
Nubian?
Nubian?
Oh, I'm sorry, Chasing Amy, my bad.
Oh, sorry, Chasing Amy. Yeah, I think it's the funniest line of that entire movie.
I got my Chasing Amy figures to my
glad
right.
something was funny in that movie.
Got a Hooper X.
Hey, that movie is very funny. I think we talked about this before too. I played at the bar from Chasing Amy once in New York.
I'm sorry, I hate that movie.
I love that movie.
She's saying, don't get cocky with me, Music Man, because he asked if she was on blackcupid.com. She said, I've banged, snorted, and ingested some of the biggest bands of the 80s. And he goes, Dexy's Midnight Runners? He goes, who the hell do you think Eileen was?
We're like, oh, a cum joke. Holy
So
shit.
they all came on her?
Yeah, hey, as a certified cum boy now.
That's a goo boy.
I didn't know that's what you called yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the Goo Goo Boys. We went over this.
It's Team Cum, but when Gordo's with us, it's the Goo Goo Boys, I guess.
Yeah. That's how we pluralize when Gordo jumps in. It's like our Transformer thing.
I don't want to make more work for myself, but I would parody a Goo Goo Doll shirt and make a Goo Goo Boys shirt. If one person buys one and shows proof if one goes up, not of us, if a listener buys it and shows proof, we'll do something for you.
A boy named Cum. It has to be a boy named Cum with a little kid on the cover.
No, I can't put that on fucking...
But have it just be a sperm.
When you get sued by Johnny Resnick.
I thought it was a little weird that he just randomly mentioned Dexy's Midnight Runners and her name actually is Eileen.
You thought it was weird, or you thought it was just terrible writing because somebody wanted to make a come on Eileen joke?
I'm okay with the come on Eileen joke, but I don't think her name should have actually been Eileen, like for real.
So we could actually then get the come on Eileen joke after. It's like they bury it so deep.
It is funny that the first time I laughed in this whole episode was to a cum joke. Like,
Yeah, that's rare for you.
oh.
Welcome to the Goo Goo Boys. I don't want to embrace that. I really don't.
Guys, we've been talking for years about a group tattoo. I think we just solved it.
No.
No. That will not be my first tattoo.
That's your first. That's so much funnier than it's your first.
Finally got inked up.
Mom, check out my tat. Like, oh god.
He gets it in the small of his back.
She goes on to say, if you think you're going to walk in here with your sweet African musk and get over on me, you are subbing in the wrong school, Shaft.
This is racist. Like, it doesn't matter that she has like a thing for him.
I don't know. We're calling him Shaft feels weird.
And while they're having these conversations, when the supervisor walks up, Supervisor Dalton, that's Tim Bagley. He's I'm trying to think of like what I best know him from, but he's in so much shit. He's in a ton of shit.
He's in like every show ever. He's one of those just like super funny character actors. I think he's a groundling.
Yeah, he was someone who I thought when I looked up what he was in, there was going to be like that one role that like, oh, from that, but it's not. He's just in a ton of shit.
He's in the non-comedy Mask with Jim Carrey.
He's an employee of the month with Dane Cook.
I forgot that movie
you know
existed, but yeah.
You know what, Ferg? That is what I most know him from. He's the store owner who his brother's like the little person who like they play each other in softball.
Yeah. That's what the only thing I know that guy from.
Yeah, that probably is the thing I best know him from, to be completely honest.
Right away, I was like, "Ooh, what the fuck?"
So he walks up and he goes to talk to the principal. Say, hey, can we please finish discussing the budget? wait a minute. And he notices Craig. He goes, when I say preheat, you say oven. And he's like, you're nasty delicious. And he goes like, I'm John Dalton, Eileen's boss. I've seen your band like 100 times. What are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm subbing for music class the next week. And I'm trying to hook up with your English teacher. And he's like, she'd be so lucky to have you.
He's the boss. He's like the superintendent of schools. He flat out says, I'm trying to hook up with one of your employees.
I
And
think
he's
it's
like,
a little weird that Craig is this openly just telling everyone like, hey, I'm trying to fuck Victoria. Like that. It seems a little weird. Like that joke. I think the way that the superintendent responded made that funny. But the idea that he's
Yeah.
just so openly, like aggressively trying to be with her and telling everybody around about it too is kind of weird.
I mean, I guess though that he has you give the weird thing of like, he's a substitute teacher and that's like such a low commitment. If they say don't come back here again, he's like, okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
But why bring it up? Like,
And again, that's something I don't like about this show is he doesn't have any real struggles in life. Like everyone likes this guy, everything works out.
Yeah.
The students who like any other like show, the students would be like terrible kids and he'd have to earn their respect. They love him right away. His biggest boss like is a fan of his band. It's like you have to have problems for him.
I was going to bring this up later on, but since you're bringing this up now, one of my big things, if I was to try to fix this show, I would have flipped it and I would have started this in a world where he was already the teacher at the school and had a band on the side, and Victoria is coming in for the first time. You could have the same backstory with they were supposed to go to prom together and now he's going to try to get her. But like the way he already has a relationship with the students, the way he already has a relationship with the other teachers, and she doesn't have these connections with anyone, it would make more sense for all these things that are happening to happen if he was the one who was already there.
100%.
Like that's an easy flip. Like he could have already just been the music teacher there when this new teacher shows up that he happens to know. And now the conquest is to get this girl. Like I just think it would have made so much more sense.
I don't know if you make more money as a substitute teacher or a guy who plays in a bar band. Though either too. It's like, I don't know. He's chasing
he
two
can still,
very non.
like,
Probably
You
equally
can
well,
be
yeah.
a full-time teacher and still be a bar band. You know what I mean?
That's
So-
true too.
Yeah.
So that can still be a subplot that he has his band on the side and all, and you can keep all that stuff in there and the conflicts between trying to like keep his job and having commitments with the band, like all that can still exist.
Yeah, comes in tired because he played late. I had to do 2 sets last night. I'm tired, sort of stuff.
So I just think you just started at a different, like you just changed the origin a little bit around, and then a lot of the stuff makes a lot more sense, and the connections make more sense, and I just think it would have made for a more fluent introduction to everybody.
Or have him frequently sub there. Like this, not he's showing up there for the first time, and this is maybe her first year at the school.
Yeah, there needs to be something. She needs to be the new character, not him.
But it seems like she's not even in all the episodes, and she's barely in this episode, right? Like he makes connections with all the other teachers and the students, and then she shows up for like 2 seconds at the beginning, 2 seconds at the end.
I think at this point in time too, though, like she's kind of like the star too. Like she's in a lot of things, and like she was probably like maybe like the grab to like maybe get eyes on the show aside from Craig Robinson. Like I don't know, like something to put in the trailers.
But you
But
still
then-
have all that. You just like that doesn't change the fact that she's a vital part of the story. It just changes a couple of the dynamics as to what gets us to this point. She just is important because the story still is focused around his conquest to get her.
Also, she has a large IMDb, but I don't think that she would make anyone tune into a show just because she's on
Yeah, I don't
it.
know if she's necessarily the draw. It's still Craig Robinson. Like, actually, if you look at most of the promo photos, like, not that there's a lot because it was such a short run show, but the majority of the things that pop up are just him. It doesn't even have the ensemble. It's tough to find, like, group. There's only a couple group pictures.
If you're going on NBC sitcom people, you'd think Peri Gilpin would be the big pull because she's from Frasier.
Right.
Yeah. Her IMDb is so big that she's from something, and it's so big I can't figure it out because I just keep, like, it's like fucking, she's got like 100 credits, and I can't find what I'm thinking of.
She is in the direct-to-video House Party 4, which is by far the worst House Party movie.
No, they made one recently, so I'm sure that one.
Oh
was-
shit, there's a new one? Okay, I take that back. There's no way that's better
Yeah,
than 4.
no, there's no kid in playing it.
How do you make a House Party movie without Kid and Play?
Oh, she was in Californication, Ferg. That's what I'm thinking of.
What the the one of the last seasons, right? When he's hanging out with all the rappers.
Yes, yeah, that one. Yep.
He was in that movie Day Shift that came out during COVID. The one Jamie Foxx hunting vampires.
Sounds great.
I didn't even know that
Yeah,
existed.
it's all right.
We get to our next scene and we have a couple of the kids outside, and it's DeAndre and that kid Quan. And DeAndre has a joint. It's like, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, it's in my brother's drawer. And like, oh, cool. Can I do it with you? And Craig walks up and Quan's like, I'm not here. And he runs off. So now it's just him and DeAndre. He's like, what the hell are you doing?
This is bad drug taking. He's just out in the open in like the quad area or whatever.
Well, that's kind of what he's telling DeAndre too. He's like, what are you doing out here? Like, you're in the middle of like everything. You could have been caught by anybody. It's like, oh, so you're going to tell the principal? He's like, no, but I am going to hang on to this. Basically tells the kid like, like scram. He's like, all right, well, thanks, Mr. C. If you were to smoke that, where would you go? He goes, Colorado. Now go get your little ass to class. Now at the time of the episode, I assume Colorado is probably like probably when it became the first state.
Probably.
Yeah, this is when Colorado was just like, you can walk down the street smoking weed and you can't
But
do that.
only in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's 2015, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't legal everywhere yet.
It was probably just Colorado at that point, which is kind of funny to think like, like about a decade later, how much it's opened up within the country. But
Also in this scene, he says, get your little ass to class. And you're like, okay, that's funny. But then he used it again later and you're like, are you trying to make this a catchphrase? That's not a good catchphrase.
Get your ass to class. Yeah.
Little ass. The little ass is what I think
Little
makes
ass,
it
yeah.
weirder. Like that he has to quantify the ass by its size.
Yeah, 2014 was when it became legal in Colorado.
yeah, so they were probably the only state at this point, or like maybe the next one's about to open. Yeah, so he runs off. Next scene, we have Craig just kind of standing inside the hallway alone when his brother Ben walks in. He's like, Ben, what are you doing here? How'd you get in here? He's like, oh, I just told him I was Jordan's dad. It's like, who's Jordan? He's like, I don't know, man. It's Chicago. Every other kid in the city is named after MJ, which I thought was actually pretty funny.
Pretty funny and probably very true.
Super true.
Like Boston, everyone's named Brady.
There's a lot of dogs named Brady, I think, in the area. I don't know how many kids are named Brady, but I'm sure there's like a spike for sure. I bet there's more than there were 20 years ago.
I will say that we didn't have a lot of friends named Larry or Bird.
I was going to say the same thing. It's weird that there's no Larrys.
Yeah, like you think you'd know a lot of Larrys.
We would like be the generation too, because we were all born in the mid 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, and a bunch of us really like Perfect Strangers, you know?
This is my son, cousin Larry Bird.
This is my other son, Balky.
That is kind honestly, I think that is pretty interesting that we don't know more. You would think here we would know more Larrys.
I mean, it's Lawrence, right? Like, was he Lawrence? So like,
yeah, usually it's Lawrence.
Oh, you're right. We know a fucking ton of Lawrences.
well, no, I'm just saying that's the. I think that was the turnoff. Maybe it's
What
like,
about Kevin?
yeah, I don't know many Kevins either. Honestly, actually, no, that's a lie. I work with like 3 of them, but like,
I think there's a lot of names though. I will say everybody on this podcast has a name that has we know a million people with all the same names as all of us, right? But you think of some of the other names, I think Kevin's a good example, right? Like, yeah, Larry, Ray. Like, you don't know a ton of people with those names anymore.
My first name, Jason, born in 86. My papa swears my name is because of the Friday the 13th movies. My mom adamantly disagrees. But if you were to look at the timeline, I don't think she named me after Jason Voorhees, but the name Jason was floating around a lot more at that time.
You'd on like the 4th movie by then, yeah.
So I kind of think subconsciously, I think I am named after him, and she just doesn't realize it.
think about it this way too, as far as not getting many Larrys. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of husbands that would have wanted Larry, but the wives were like, I'm not naming our son after Larry fucking Bird. Like,
no, babe, it's not Larry Bird. It's cousin Larry from Perfect Stranger. It's like double fucking veto not happening.
And that's why there was a spike in Balky's. That was a compromise.
if anybody knows another Balky, please let us know.
Yeah, I feel like I'll be on LinkedIn for like an hour tomorrow looking at Balky's.
Or even another Bartokamos. Like,
Yeah.
I would take that too.
I really dropped the ball by not naming my son Balky.
It's honestly, it's just paperwork. You could change it.
No, what I think we just did though is
Like, Max, I'm sorry, your name is Balky now.
Can we start a GoFundMe? Let's start a GoFundMe for Gordo to change his name to Balky. What would it take?
Berg, what would it take for us to raise money for you to change your son's middle name to Balky and not tell him?
Like someday he's going to get like a marriage license and he's like, Balky, what the fuck?
It's like what's he like? Probably like 4 or 5 years until he starts driving and he has to like put in all this paperwork and it's like, Balky.
3 years, buddy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Gordo, first name, how much money?
How much money? First name?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be in the 7 figures. Like,
Your name means nothing, by the way. Your legal name means nothing. It's
I mean,
put on
granted,
paperwork.
I could
dare
be
you.
B. Michael.
You would need $1 million at least to change your first name.
That no one calls you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I've called you Mike in 30 years. I don't even know why you'd be mad about that.
I would do it for 10K.
Fine.
All right, it's on the table. Ferg will change his first name to Balky if we can raise $10,000.
Put it out there. And we also need a million listeners.
Okay, guys, if we can sign a petition that in 2024 we can get a second season of Mr. Robinson back, we'll all change our middle names to Balky.
I mean, I can change my middle name. Like, that's not a big deal.
That will let my dad and dead grandfather down very much.
I mean, my dad too, but I can add a second middle name.
Hyphenate it.
All right, well, we'll table this for later.
John Balky.
So Ben tells
Why
his
does that sound like
brother.
a priest's name? His father, John Balky.
So Ben tells his brother, like, hey, I got some big news. I just booked us a gig in the hottest spot in town. The Odeon? He's like, yup.
You know right away when it's going to be. As soon as he says that, too.
Yep.
From what they set up. Like,
We got double our quote. He's like, we had a quote. He's like, yep, we do now. And it's doubled. And like they're singing and dancing. They're all excited about it. And then Craig stops. He's like, why'd you stop dancing? He's like, oh, it's Friday. I got this back to school program I have to go to. Which I think I actually neglected to mention earlier when he was talking to them.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that one.
So there's this mandatory faculty thing that he has to go to.
you're a substitute. That's not a
That was
thing.
my thing. You don't have to go to that. You're done teaching at the end of the week and it's Friday. Like, you don't have to go to that. You don't even work there the next time there's school.
You're an independent contractor. It's not like they can say you can't work other places like a wrestler.
This situation, like the conflict of the episode, makes zero sense because I can understand if they should have set it up where it wasn't like the principal going, you have to go. It is a mandatory thing. It should have been more like there is something making him want to go and he's trying to find excuses, like, because he knows she's going to be there. But even like this whole like idea that like it's required, I don't know, it just didn't flow with the episode.
First of all, how late is this like school thing going? Because it can't go late enough to interfere with the bar gig.
It's a teacher thing. They do them at night. I've had to go to a couple.
Okay.
Right, but like a typical show, right? If you're in a band, you're playing. If you're opening at like 8:30. And if you're playing later than that, you know what I mean? You're probably be able to do both these things. I don't think they're gonna have these kids in high school up till midnight.
Well, not to ruin this show, but it's established that it's really not a problem because he gets both.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't have a huge issue down the road.
I have a question about that. We'll have to get to. Is the club they go to at the end not the club they started at the beginning?
It 100%
I wanted
is.
to talk. We'll talk about that.
Okay, because that threw me off. We'll get there. Okay.
We'll talk about it. So eventually, because of how important this is, Greg eventually goes, you know what? I'll be there. I'll be at the gig. So now, new scene, Craig's walking down the hall. He sees Principal Taylor spray painting something on the wall. He's like, why are you tagging the door? He goes, oh, the city gives us money to cover up graffiti, and then I take the cash and use it to buy lunches for kids who can't afford them. He goes, oh, no, I kind of feel like a dick.
Because Roz is so sweet.
Wasn't a dick move to ask a question.
Yeah, it wasn't. But and honestly, in that aside, just again, does she have to physically spray paint and like send proof? Can't she just say like we need that money to like,
Or that much spray paint? You can just do like a line and be like, oh, there was purple on the door.
Maybe you have to provide evidence.
Yeah, I guarantee you probably have to provide evidence.
But if that's a thing and she's keeping the money to do other stuff, shouldn't the entire school be covered with graffiti that she has to keep doing?
fair? There should be a ton of graffiti all over the school.
She's not spending the money to clean it up.
Like that should have maybe been like as Craig was like walking in the hallway, been like, wow, there's a lot of graffiti in here. Or it should have just been a throwaway line.
You reveal that it's not real spray paint.
It's that Halloween spray.
She could say, "Oh, I use it because we got money for the thing," and then she could just fucking and it wipes right off. You know?
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, listen, I have this gig with my band. I was wondering if I could not be here on Friday." And she's like, "What are you, like 40?" He's like, "Around." She's like, "You're a substitute teacher and a part-time musician. You probably have a roommate, little to no money. But even with your powerful yet sublime physique, you have no direction." She's like, "Go ahead, go play with your band, little band boy." It's like, "I'll cover for you."
Little band boy.
It's not like I'll cover for you. Again, he's a substitute teacher. Like, you just pick from a pool. Like, that's why I think this makes more sense if he's actually a teacher there and she's the new person. It's just like all this stuff makes more sense.
Yeah, if he's actually a teacher there and like they keep the whole story of he stood her up at prom, they could have set up, "Oh, it's good to see you've changed and got your life together." And then he's missing this for a thing. She goes, "You haven't changed at all." And that.
Yeah, there's all this. I just think you flip that one thing in the beginning and it just more things just fall into line. Like it's just a lot of these pieces just make more sense. Then we cut outside and it's outdoor gym class, I guess. And we just see a student standing there. And that's when the gym teacher, Jimmy, just fucking pegs this kid in the face with a dodgeball. I was like, "What the hell's that?" It's like, "I was late." And Jimmy explains that he gave him the choice, detention or a ball to the face. He's like, "I call it baseball."
He's the character I like.
Yeah,
I mean, joke.
It's a bad joke. The whole thing is you want that gag of him hitting him in the face with the ball, which was funny.
Man, if I could have got hit by a dodgeball instead of getting in trouble in school, it would have been great.
Actually, you just could cut out the baseball part. You could just say, "He was late. I gave him the option. It was either detention or this."
Yeah, I guess that would be just as funny.
Yeah, it's still funny. The funny part is him getting hit in the face with the ball. It's not the joke. The tag at the end is not the funny part of it.
That's true.
And then he's telling Craig, "Hey, you're not going to believe this, but Victoria's boyfriend broke up with her." He's like, "What? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, I heard a couple teachers talking about it in the ladies' bathroom. I mean, I heard a couple teachers talking about it."
Oh, cool. So the gym teacher's a sex offender.
Side note, it's just on the topic of teachers again. Our middle school music teacher is still alive.
Really?
No way.
No.
Okay, so
Do you have an age on that?
She was like 100 when we had her.
she's 86. I cannot confirm. I remembered her name. If you remember, she has a very strange first name.
I remembered her name, but obviously not saying it
So
aloud
I
here.
found her, and there are no obituaries or anything.
That doesn't mean she's alive. That just means she wasn't loved.
Oh my god.
That's fucked up, man. Jesus Christ.
Of all the things we've said on this show, I think nothing has made me feel more uncomfortable than that.
I'm just saying there's no way she's still alive.
Why? People can be old. Like,
People
they
can
don't
be
have
old.
to die at a certain
Because
point. Like,
by what you're saying, we've been out of school for 20 years. That means she had to have been in her 40s when we had her. Because we were...
That's terrible,
I was saying
man.
Yeah.
she was born in 1938.
We didn't have her in high school. We had her in middle school.
Right.
But 38, that makes sense. He can still be alive.
She could have been around 60 at the time.
My grandmother's 98.
Your grandmother probably looks better than she looked when we had her. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my
Why
God.
did you double down on that? Holy shit.
Because she was super old when we had
She
her.
was super old. We were like 15. So anyone who's over 50 looked old to us. Well, anyways,
Fucking shrapnel. Jesus Christ.
so moving along, we cut back inside the school. We have DeAndre, and he's talking to some of the other kids in his class and telling them about how Craig caught him earlier with the weed. He's like, "Hey, like, he caught me and like he let me slide. He really is one of us." And he says, "I'm untouchable. I'm like the Teflon DeAndre." And then Craig walks up. He's like, "Hey, what's going on over here?" Like, "Oh, I was just telling him how you caught me with a little weedy weed." He's like, "What the?" And he grabs him, like drags him into the room.
Weedy weed made me laugh, though.
He like throws him down like on the stool of the piano, and the piano has a little bang when he sits down.
That's a little violent.
Well,
Adult on kid.
He didn't like hit him. He just forcefully moved him to a different area.
He threw him at the piano.
And then he's explained to him, hey, listen, let's get something straight. What happened yesterday will never happen again. He's like, I know, because I found a better spot. And he goes, no. He's like, you're too young and stupid to understand. He's like, you got a second chance. He's like, if I played things by the book, you would have been expelled, and you're just another black kid thrown out of school for drugs. And then what? Your life's over. Sometimes you have to play by the rules. He's like, but you don't. He's like, yeah, and my life is hard. So if I catch you again, I'll make it known that I will be making sure that you're thrown out of the school. Do I make myself clear?
This is too serious of a note and a scene for what we've seen so far.
This is a lot for, again, I don't want to keep going back to it, but I think, again, if he is established as an actual teacher there already and not just a guy who's been here for 3 days, then it just makes a little bit more sense.
Imagine one of our substitute teachers pulling us and telling us the same thing.
And I think you need a moment. Yeah, if it was a substitute for sure. I think
especially one of our substitutes.
You need a moment for his character to not just be someone who's like too easygoing. You have to like respect, especially like the idea is that he's going to stay in this school, right? Like I said, without even knowing the end of the episode, we know the show is Mr. Robinson. We know he's eventually going to get a job or be at least involved in the school more. So you need something that's going to ground him a little bit so he's just not a fuck up at all times. So he's a believable authority role and role model to these kids.
Yeah, but this isn't it.
This didn't flag me as that bad. I thought it was like an okay response. He's like, because he still gave him the pass, but he's letting him know like the value of that pass. And I didn't do it just because I'm the cool guy. I did it because I don't want you to fuck your life up.
Again, my issue with the show as a whole, like I have no issue with this scene. It's the instant bond with the students he just got on his. Is this still his first day, second day now? Like,
I think it's first day.
It's like the kids all love him and act like they've, like you said, if he was the teacher all year and he's bonded with him, that's fine. But they just met the guy. He's had zero problems. Doesn't make any sense.
To play devil's advocate on that a little bit, though, we had a substitute teacher through like middle school, high school, who immediately first day was like, wait, you guys like wrestling? And we were like, okay, we're fine with this guy, right? Like, it's all it took, you know? It's a bunch of us being like, oh, you want to talk about like wrestling for an hour instead of doing class? Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, we basically
but he didn't
did the
catch
same
us
thing.
with drugs and shit either. You know, like, it's different. Yeah.
He also didn't have us sing to his girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. So DeAndre leaves the room after he gives him the little speech, and Craig to himself goes, found a better spot. Kid's a mini me, which I like.
I like that.
So now the next scene, we have Craig walking into his classroom, and all the kids are like looking at him. He's like, what's going on here? It's like, listen up. We got a plan to get you and Miss Wavers together. And like the other kid's like, you've got no game. And it's like all this, like the idea of like all the students together doing that typical thing where like we're all teaming up to help. It just felt like it was too fake and too sitcom-y. And there's nothing to establish like why they're a team. There's nothing to establish why they feel the need to help him so bad, why they like him so much. Just because he like sang an Iggy Azalea song.
Also, he's been there for 1 day. How do they know he has no game?
Yeah, also that.
Because they seen his game. He just screamed at her in the middle of the classroom and she stormed out.
I guess, maybe. That's fair. I'll give you that.
He's asking like, how do you know about all this? And it's like, oh, Magnum PE. It's like, yeah, he tweets us like 20 times a day. Yeah, it's like the real Magnum PE. And I was like, this is all weird. This isn't like...
Guy in tiny shorts who hangs out and tweets at his students and also hangs out in the women's
From
room.
the women's bathroom.
Yeah.
He's on the stall.
Clear sex offender 1,000 times over. Who says that his nickname is something you think of for giant dongs.
I think of Zoolander, actually.
And his giant dong.
When they're asked why they're doing this for him, it's like, oh, well, we owe you, but then we think you and Miss Wavers would be cool together. And then you have to promise to give us all A's. And then that's when that kid phone book was like, and 4, you're my father. And I was like, nah, that one was weird.
Yeah, that's too much.
Oh my god, so random. This
Yeah,
character's
it's like, oh,
great.
he's the random weird kid. Like, yeah, the early one was fine, but this one was just like, we're trying to find lines for him.
This is like, there's a bunch of stuff, like I mentioned earlier, the little ass thing, right? Like, that's done too much because you're trying to make it a thing. The DJ Funbook stuff is done too much because you're trying to make it a thing. When you could actually just try to put it once an episode and make it funny.
By the way to fix this, to have them have a reason to help him, it should come from the kid he caught with the weed and have him catch him again and have really let down. And this is his way to make it up to him.
Yeah, I don't want to I keep harping on it. If he was the teacher already, and he has an established relationship with these kids already, and then they see how he acts when this new teacher, Victoria, comes in for the first time and how much he seems to like her, you would know why they'd all want to band together and help him out.
Band together, music class. I see what you did there.
You know what this kind of reminds me of a little bit is the way it's like how they're all, when they take turns saying lines, it's like, and now we're going to help you. Yeah, you've got no game. It's like in when we did AP Bio and they went to do the song and dance, like playing off of scenes like this, and he just cuts them off right away.
And it's so fucking funny because he just cuts them off right away. AP Bio is the way to do a show like this.
It's the same trope, only AP Bio is kind of being more like meta about it and acknowledging that it's a trope and just shooting it down, where this show is embracing it and just doing the typical thing that happens in these shows.
I thought about AP Bio a lot in this. I also thought a lot about Mr. Iglesias that we covered.
I thought about that too. Yeah.
And I watched all of Mr. Iglesias, and I was a little bummed out that
you didn't even do the episode with us too.
Yeah, you didn't even do it.
I just kept doing it. I don't know. I just like him so much that it was hard not to like it. I like Craig Robinson a lot too, but I felt like the Mr. Iglesias show didn't try to have a foot in both worlds, and this feels like it's trying to have a foot in both worlds to me.
What worlds?
Like adult and kid.
Craig's telling the students, all right, listen, I'm not promising any of you guys A's. I'm definitely not DJ Phonebook's father, but I could use your help. And then it's like, all right, we've got some work to do.
I can't believe there wasn't a montage here. I was like, I would have bet money that we were going to get a montage here. Fucking montage.
So now we cut to like a little bit later, and Craig's in the class alone when his brother walks in. And when he walks in, Ben's like, you know, there's a stripper from Big Booty Bungalow that's just walking around here? Like, oh yeah, that's Ashley. Like, she's the math teacher.
Great strip club name.
He's like, strippers got to teach just to make ends meet. Like, that sucks. I love the flip where they're like, this is her side hustle.
Yeah, that's a good line.
I mean, to be fair, I think it's an indictment also on how much teachers are paid, which is nowhere near enough. You know what I mean?
That's the joke, Joe.
Oh, I didn't think they were trying to make that joke. I thought he was just trying to make a joke that he's like a skeeve kind of guy.
No, it's like, it's that joke, but flipped. Like, his brain doesn't get it, but yeah, it's the same. It's the play off of that joke.
What does a substitute teacher make? I didn't look that up. Does anybody know what a substitute
So
makes?
my mother substitutes. They pay. I know at Winthrop they give her $100 a day.
Nick, didn't you substitute at one point?
I did. It wasn't here in Winthrop, but I made $50 a day.
$100 a day is not bad if you...
50 a day sucks.
It does suck, yeah.
That's not enough money.
Now, Nick, I forgot that you subbed. As a sub, did you have full access into the teacher's lounge and stuff? Like, were you welcomed into that, or was it sort of...
Yeah.
That's 50 taxable dollars?
Was it? I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't it be? Right?
It's got to be taxed, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're making like $30. So if you do it
Yeah.
5 days a week, you're making $150 cash.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, baby.
And then to think they're making so little money because they're just trying to help, and then we're just treating them like dog shit.
Right, it's fucking...
You were the worst in the world to substitutes.
In the world?
Yes.
I mean, out of us, yeah.
I mean, it's for sure a thankless job, right? Teaching is a thankless job. Substitute teaching is a fucking real thankless job.
What you did to poor Mr. S?
I the fridge.
Yes.
So all right, I don't want to get into too many tangents, but we don't have a lot of episode left. So I don't think it was that bad, but I found we got his phone number, and then I called. We were at Ferg's house. This is when we used to meet up every week to watch like wrestling and stuff. And I called his phone and I told him that I was like from Best Buy and his like refrigerator delivery was like set up. And he's like, I didn't buy a fridge. He's like, and I like give him all this like fake confirmation stuff. I'm like, well, we already charged your card. So like, you're going to have to call back tomorrow. And then all I ended up doing was I don't know. I think it's the Andy Kaufman in me, but I like jokes sometimes that I don't even get to like see the finish of. So I gave him my boss's phone number. of like the store I worked at the time, who I also did not like. And
FYI, this is a very nice old man,
Yeah.
like substitute teacher. That Jay just balked at him. Well, I wasn't that bad, and then just
He also got in trouble with him and said, "I'm sorry, I don't speak idiot" to him. This kind old man.
This poor old guy trying to make a difference and $50, and you were such a shithead to him.
No. 30 years ago, he was probably making $20 cool a day to put up with
He also
Jay's
thought
shit.
I was too young to hang out with you guys.
He
every
thought you
time
were our
saw
little
me.
brother.
What are you doing with this?
Get away from these bad kids.
he's a really nice guy.
He's probably dead now, too. Though,
Probably
right?
RIP again, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
No, you guys keep assuming. You think I'm the asshole for saying she's probably dead because she looked old back then. That assumption came because she looked so old from Jay.
For me. All right, well,
Why did you think that she's probably dead?
math.
Exactly. Hey, I'm not the asshole.
No, well, anyways.
She caught the crocodile rot, and
Oh, come on.
I thought it was the turkey neck.
Listen, Google boys don't make jokes like that.
So let's reel this in, boys. He's like, hey, listen, I can't do that gig tomorrow. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, Victoria, like, tomorrow's the last time we're going to be working together, and my kids are doing really something, like, awesome for me. He's like, hey, we promised to never say the words, my kids. He's like, Craig, you're blowing off the highest paid gig we've ever had. He's like, you're the one who told me to do this. He said I should be like a jack-in-the-box. Like, why would you ever listen to me? I'm an idiot. He's like, so don't listen to you now or don't listen to you then? He's like, don't listen to me ever.
I'm sorry, dick move by Craig. I'm sorry. He made a commitment to the band, and him doing this screws everyone over.
no, because they still would definitely be able to play.
Oh, yes. And in the end, if you really think about it, he probably would be able to play. He didn't make the commitment to this band for that gig. His brother booked the gig and didn't confirm the time with them. So
Again, he's just a substitute, and Friday's his last day. He's doing this to get fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, he's doing this because he's trying to get with Victoria, but unless their band has like an opening slot at the bar at 8 p.m., and if that's the case and it's their paying gig, they're making probably less money than he's getting paid to do.
But they're not at their usual bar. They're at an exclusive bar or exclusive club that they're both very excited about.
Does not seem to be the case by the end of the episode, though.
That's because they said his name being attached is what gets them the Odeon or whatever it's supposed to be. So they go back to the original place.
If his name getting them attached gets them a huge gig, there are clubs all across town. They're in Chicago, which is also a very big music city and always has been. I'm pretty sure another club would have booked them the next Friday because his name is so big. You know what I mean? Like, that, it just falls apart when you're like, this is our only shot at the only club in town. Like, Chicago is like the home of like the blues and everything. Like, there's no way there's not more clubs that'll book him if he's that big of a name.
You hear that, Joe's bands? He doesn't care about you.
so that ends. We cut to the actual back to school night. And, you know, you got some teachers and students there. So this is just kind of like the welcome back to school party night that this school has, I guess.
Yeah, like it's not a dance.
Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting parent-teacher conferences.
Or like a full-on school dance.
There's just a bunch of people there. I don't know what the event really is, but there's a bunch of people there. And then you start hearing in the background, like the music from Janet Jackson's Escapade playing in the background.
Did she have points in this episode or something? Like, why do we get double Janet Jackson references?
Well, in the beginning, Janet Jackson...
Probably like an easily licensed
Janet
song or
Jackson got
something.
mentioned once earlier in the episode. Oh, boy.
If you say my sister's name twice, I appear. Hi, everybody. It's been a while.
Hey, Casper.
Oh, I missed you, boys. Are we talking about school-age children tonight?
Okay.
No.
Casper. I'm going to leave before I wear out my welcome. I'll see you in your dreams, DeAndre. Casper.
Oh, boy. So,
I like that Jay goes along with it, but it physically hurts him.
It's a goddamn it. We have to do this back.
So yeah, there was a mention of Janet Jackson earlier in the episode when they first met at the bar, but I think that was just to establish that she was a huge fan then. So like when we're doing this tie-in,
She came up recently in a conversation, I forget where, but I was like, where's Janet Jackson been?
We talking about her titties at the Super Bowl? Was that where it came up?
I don't think so. I think that was the reason that we ended up figuring out what we thought. But like, it's like she got completely blackballed. Like she was a humongous
Her face kind of
star.
fell off too, though.
Literally?
Yeah, like her, like she had like just equally as bad like nose.
Too much surgery.
Yeah, like
Well, I think too, like just like she's not young and she's been out for a long time, and I just think with pop music, like everyone has their run, and you got to remember like the height of
Sure.
her popularity was still like 30 years ago. So
And I hope that she's just like, I don't want to do anything anymore. I've got a ton of money, because that's like the dream. I never begrudge that on anybody.
it depends what you, honestly, we can't have a long Janet Jackson conversation, but it depends what you want out of your career too. Like you have to like play the flow of it. Like there's a point where you are filling arenas, and then you might not be able to fill arenas anymore. And do you want to do the smaller gigs? Is it worth it? Like it you know, who knows?
oh, she has a Vegas residency.
Well, or she might have a residency in Vegas.
Guys, should we all do a trip to Vegas where we all dress like Casper Jackson and we go to Janet Jackson's Vegas
No.
residency?
Me and Ferg will be in Vegas in April. Yeah.
I might join you.
Well, our Vegas fans come out and meet Jay and
Yeah, I might go
Ferg.
to that one too.
So
Yeah. 4 out of 5. We could have a con.
I'll come. I can be 5.
Well, there we go. S1E1 con in Vegas.
yeah, a whole convention.
Live at the Janet Jackson residency, row Z, seats 21 through 26.
Yeah, we'll have a plastic table in front of the in front of the resort with stickers. So now that music's playing in the background, and Victoria's like, "Wait, what's that music playing? This is like my all-time favorite song." And then looks at like the other, do you know something about this? Maybe. And then a couple of the kids like grab her and walk her into the classroom. And now you have like the rest of the class is all in there, and they're like all singing the song a cappella. And the classroom's like all dressed to look like the prom. And Craig's laying across his desk in this powder blue suit.
With a roughly undershirt.
Yeah. So he's recreating prom and playing her favorite song to try to, you know, get that moment that he bailed on her, you know, so many years before.
I appreciate the idea of being like, I'm dressed up like I was then. But again, I just find it very depressing to be like, you don't even know anything about this girl. You just liked her 20-something years ago, and you're trying to recreate that weird high school thing. I find that to be, I don't know if his character is like, I don't know, he can't make it, and he's trying to, I don't know. There's a lot of shit wrong with this show, but that to me would not attract me. If somebody was like, hey, I remembered you when you were 18, and I thought you were fucking hot, and I haven't talked to you in 20 years.
I follow you to your job.
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool. And you think that everything I did back then is exactly what I still do now? Like, it's a weird thing. I don't know. It's like an Arrested Development thing.
I didn't think it was like I think it's like a sweet move and like to have the kids involved and help. I just think that this is all rushed. This shouldn't be happening a couple days after meeting her again.
Hey, can we get coffee sometime and catch up? Would have been the first move.
Who wants to drink coffee and ketchup?
Aw, waka waka. Mustard, yes.
If this season, obviously, it only went 6 episodes, but again, I think if you had tweaked it and did some things, it would have lasted longer. But let's say this was a show that was going to run. This is how you end the first season. This is the season finale where he does this whole build-up grand gesture for her after like pining for her and then the kids getting involved and all this stuff. Like you don't do this all in 20 minutes.
Bad thing is, like, this show went 6 episodes. I don't know if that's because the quality and people were like, this show sucks, or if it's because they didn't advertise it at all. Because again, none of us ever heard of this show.
And this is the era too where, like, we've talked about it before, the like NBC was on fire. This is coming out of like The Office, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock, like especially like Thursday nights were like such a killer lineup. This is, I think, the end, like the last era of like you would stay home to watch it live. You know what I mean? So like we knew all these shows were happening. We all watched them. To not have ever heard of this with somebody we all know and like is kind of weird.
From what I understand, generally speaking, the show was not well received for the people who saw it and reviewed it. And they thought it played into too many like typical tropes. I mean, listen, dissecting it here, like the writing was a little fucked up. The storytelling wasn't there. I think it had all the right pieces. So I think like with some fixing and rewrites, it's funny to think there was another pilot and this was the reworked version.
I would love to see that original one.
Because like based on this, like, and again, I'm nobody, but like, I feel like I could fix this. Like, I feel like you have all the right things. And if you just tweak it around, like, we could make this work, you know?
Problem is, too, if you put a show in this is a death slot, right? Like, late August. That's probably why we never heard of it, right? Is because even though we're older at this point, like, it's the summertime, you're out doing stuff, and you know TV's in reruns. Yeah, like, you're not going to be home to watch the episode of whatever, because it doesn't matter. You'd rather be out watching nasty Craig band at a bar instead of watching TV on a Thursday. So I think they probably doomed it from the beginning with that anyway.
She sees all this. He asks her for a dance, and they dance to the song a little bit. And, you know, she gives him like this little kiss on the cheek and thanks. Like, oh, so we're good now? Like, you know, she's like, yeah, like, I forgive you for standing me up. And then a guy walks in and he's like, oh man, that was amazing. That was fantastic, man. I wish I had a music teacher like you when I was in school. And you know, when he walks in that this is her boyfriend. Like, I don't, at least I did. I don't know if for you guys, but I instantly, as soon as he walked in, I knew who he was.
Yeah, I think that was telegraphed. Like, you have to have known.
And I thought he was going to like punch him, but he was just actually just a nice dude. Like, at first I thought he was being passive aggressive, but it wasn't. He was like, legit like, wow, that was so awesome of you.
I don't know if they set up that he's like dumb or something, right? Like, he doesn't pick up on it or whatever, but.
Well, this comes off as he's doing something for the music students, because even the superintendent's like, this is the best music presentation I've seen. Someone caring, we need to have you back and all that.
Yeah, it just seemed weird. Like, he's dancing with your girlfriend and stuff. Like, I don't know. He just seemed blind to what was going on.
But also, question begs here. So what did teacher sex offender hear in the bathroom?
What he actually heard was,
Well, no, he made it up.
I don't think he made it up.
You think he made it up?
No.
Yeah, I think he
don't
made it
think
up
so.
to try to get them together.
Well, he does run up because it's like, hey, who's that? Oh, that's my boyfriend. Oh, I heard you guys broke up. And he's like, who told you that? And he runs up. Magnum runs up. He's like, oh, that doesn't matter. What matters is right here, like this. Magnum out. and he exits. So yeah, we don't get enough from him to know if he made it up or not.
If he was going to make it up, why would his excuse be he was hiding in the woman's room? That's not.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want people to know that.
That's a good point.
That could have just been gossip too. Like, she might not have been part of that conversation, or he heard wrong, or, you know, whatever.
Maybe he heard two people talking. Yeah.
Yeah. She leaves with her boyfriend, and the principal and the soup walk up, and principal's like, this was a huge waste of our resources. And the superintendent's like, you killed it. Like, and like Fergie said, like, this is the most engaged the kids have been in the school function. And he's asking, like, what do I have to do to have you here full time? She's like, Supervisor Dalton, don't you think we should? And he goes, woman, are you high?
Also, what resources were wasted? The kids sang, and
Well, all the dressing up of the classroom and stuff. So whatever that stuff was.
But I don't think that there wasn't a charge to the school district on that, I don't think.
Yeah, and those are all still things you can still reuse. Offers the job, and he's like, you know what, I'm in. And he's like, all right, this place has got a whole lot funkier. I really do like the superintendent.
he's great.
Yeah, he's good.
There's a great cast. That's the thing. That's why I just feel like the show is like...
I feel like he was in something else we just did, too.
He's in like an episode of every TV show ever.
I'd have to pull up his IMDb and look at it, but only thing that stands out is what we mentioned, Employee of the Month.
I mean, he's in Curb, Mom, The League, Workaholics. Like, he's in every funny show ever.
Yeah, so he takes the job, and now he's the new full-time teacher. Then we cut to the gig that he missed, and you see, like, the brother doing the, when I say micro, you say wave, and then micro, and the guy goes, you suck!
Did anybody think he was going to say penis? My brain immediately was like, he's going to say, when you say micro,
that
I
would've
say
been great.
penis. I was like, that'd be a funny fucking joke.
Man, yeah. Yeah, that would have been workable for a sitcom. So.
He doesn't understand the subtlety of like the
Right.
muffins joke. He just thinks people like dick and ball jokes.
Yeah. Also, the guy saying "you suck" was very Wedding Singers to me when they're yelling at George.
George.
Oh man, that would have been so cool to see in the theaters.
Wait, were you not there for that, Jay?
Even I
Joe,
was
you
there,
mentioned
Jay.
this earlier. This is definitely the same exact club set, but they just like added a light behind the band with the new club name of like to establish this is like the other place that it's
This
supposed
is
to be.
the
But
new world famous Odeon.
it's the same.
Also,
It's the same set, but yeah, but it's a different club in the story.
Are we sure it's not the same club from the beginning?
Yeah, because now they got the sign in the background that says the name of whatever that club was.
Okay, I missed the sign.
The new sign.
I've played 1,000,000 clubs this size, or it's a pretty small club.
Oh,
which
really?
is-
Name them all.
Yeah, all of them.
Offline, no, just write it, type it out. Type it
I'll
out.
type it out for you. Yeah, I'll write it. I'll handwrite it for you.
And then Jay will put it on a t-shirt next week.
Buttons for everybody.
S1E1pod.com. Yeah.
What a place like this is packed, though, you come out of it making like $100. Like, so the idea of this size club being like, dude, we're getting a paying gig at the Odeon. We're gonna split $100 between all of us. Is just like, and that's fine. I'm not knocking that. That's playing music. You don't.
Well,
make
what you
money.
don't know is the Odeon is owned by Tony Khan, so they were going to get $1 million.
Okay, nerds, let's move on.
The Nickelodeon. It's actually owned by Double Dare, and you have to play in a giant nose.
They're playing the show, and now there's like no one there. They're not into it. The band's struggling without Craig there. And now Craig walks down the stairs with the rest of like the faculty, I guess. He just brought like all of them with him.
Are there also maybe some kids in tow?
I was looking. I couldn't tell if the students were there.
I thought there were some students.
But he brought a lot of people with him. And then, he just hops up and he's like, we cool? And then, hell yeah.
No, there must be students because of the comment he makes.
I guess, yeah, he gets up on the mic and he's like, y'all ready to party? I hope your ears are 18. So.
Right, so like that makes me think there have to have been kids there too.
And he says, because they're about to get sound banged.
That was like really not a great way to cap this one.
No, but also like you brought a bunch of kids to a bar and then you're doing sexual stuff. And where was the 30-foot Craig blow-up doll?
Yeah, that's true. We didn't have that either.
Yeah.
It's at the real Odeon, all right?
Imagine bringing all those kids to your gig and then like fucking halfway through you're singing songs about wanting to come on muffins and shit like that.
It's like, who wants to come up here and sing with me?
This isn't the first time we've talked about cum muffins.
No, that's probably not the last time either.
But yeah, that's the close of the show is him doing the gig and everything worked out. And there we are.
So I hate that ending. I hate that there's no real sacrifice. He got his cake and ate it too. He got to go to the thing and still have his gig.
Well, no, because the real conflict is, it's weird because they kind of gave you the two things, but the real conflict now is that Victoria has a boyfriend.
Right.
And he did everything to get her, and then like that happened. And maybe the students should have dragged him to the show or something. Like he should have been upset.
Yeah, like you gotta play.
He should have been bummed out after they left, and something should have brought him over to go to that show afterwards.
He's never bummed. He's always happy.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I want.
So I think that would have been like, that would have made that end make a little bit more sense if like they dragged him there and like told him to get on stage, and then he like kind of gets his confidence back when he jumps up there. You could have flipped that conversation with the shy kid earlier, and she could have talked him into getting on stage, because he's all bummed out now.
We have talked about this before, though. This ending is a streaming ending, not a TV ending, right? Because this was debuted on television. And actually, it was weird, though. They did do the first 2 episodes, came out the first day, but it was on we talked
NBC.
about that, right? Like when you have the next episode just starts 8 seconds later, you can end shows like this, and it just sort of feels like you're watching one long.
Sure, but I don't think this is made with that. Like 10 years ago, this wasn't really made as a streamer, like in mind type of setup.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's why this doesn't work, because it's the type of ending that only works on a streaming show, because you're expected to watch it as a whole, not in like a week-to-week chunk.
But yeah, that was a whole episode. There's not much else to talk about. Even trying to look for notes about the show, I was trying to see what I could find out, like little tidbits, and there's just not much out there. The show just kind of came and went with a little fanfare. Like, can't find much about the creations and other than stuff we've talked about. So unless you guys have anything else to say, we get into the greenlight or cancel.
I've got one other thing to say. I love when usually we do a show like this and they say something that ages so poorly because somebody comes out to be a monster, right? Like you make some pop culture reference that
Like,
a person's
I think
like,
we got the best Kevin
right?
Spacey.
Yeah. Like,
Also
that's
said
what
by
happens.
him.
But he, when Roz at one point, she's like, I love Biggie. I hate Puff Daddy. You're like, that aged so well because we all found out that Puff Daddy was such a fucking monster. And like, if she was like, I hate Biggie, but I love Puffy, you'd be like, ooh, that's hard in 2024. So they got that right.
Now, before we do the green light or cancel, Ferg, I do need to ask now, you are wearing our I think we got the best shirt based off of the tagline that Joe says at the end of every episode. which was, yes, said originally by Craig Robinson in the show Ghosted, which is how that started. Was that deliberate when you wore that shirt today?
No, I got really excited because it came in the mail, and I wanted to wear my new
Ooh,
shirt.
nice. Does it still have that fresh vinegar scent when they come in?
Yeah, I smell like shit right now.
Yeah, oh, nice.
It's the DTG printing. It's like whatever they do, because it basically just comes through like a giant printer.
So if you guys are interested in getting one for yourself, go to S1E1pod.com. Has a link to that and everything else. But yeah, we'll do the green light or cancel. I'll go in the order I see you guys in. Joe, starting with you.
Yeah, this show honks. This is so fucking bad. But I will say, from a note-taking / very analytical perspective, this was maybe one of the easiest to do notes on, because it's such a simple, easy, just kind of goes blah premise for a show. The sad thing about this too is this is one of those episodes where I'm like, I think this was really fun because we shit all over it. And like those shows, sometimes it's like people aren't gonna remember this show because this fucking show barely existed. I'm glad it died so we could get Killing It, which I think is way better. Craig Robinson, the whole cast for the most part, the adult cast for the most part of this is great. I'm sorry, this is so bad. Magnum out.
Berg.
Yeah, if Joe cancels a show, that usually says it all. It's a terrible show. So also cancel from me. The writing was so poor. I'm not a fan of the everything going well for the main character thing. It's like you need to have issues for the main character. So when he succeeds, it's like, oh, yay, good thing. When everything's going well for him, that's just corny. The worst thing I can say about the show is it just wasn't funny. I didn't laugh until maybe the midpoint with the coach joke, and it's sad because it's such a good cast. They had pretty good chemistry. That bad Netflix writing, and it wasn't even on Netflix. So cancel.
Nick.
Yeah, I mean, without reiterating too much, it's just like Ferg said, it's not funny. I love Craig Robinson, and the cast is pretty good, honestly. I agree with Joe, but there's just way too many things wrong and too many boxes left unchecked for this show. So yeah, it's pretty easy cancel. Not much to say, unfortunately. Aside from that, it just wasn't great. Cancel.
Gordo.
Well, I guess it's time for old Gordy here to take a stand because I am greenlighting the show. Yeah, don't throw your hands up in the air, okay? This wasn't that bad. We got cum jokes. It was funny all the way through. The cast was not bad. The kids weren't bad, except for DJ Playbook there for a little bit. But I mean, ultimately, I laughed throughout this whole thing. This isn't like any sort of intellectual stimulation. This is just something I could see on in the background, kind of giggling, not paying too much attention to. This is something that I could burn through in like a day. It wasn't as bad as you guys made it out to be. I'm sorry, but I enjoyed this show. And you know what, Craig? Respect. Green light.
Well, I'm not going with you, Gordo. I'm sorry. I feel like this show had so many pieces to not even just be a good show, but to be like a really good show. There's just so much there, and it just got so flubbed. The cast is there. I think the chemistry is there. I just think the writing was just done so bad, and the storytelling was so off. And you just switch some things around, and you tighten it up, and you make it a little less corny at times, and you stretch out that story a little bit too. Like, I don't want the resolve with the prom thing. Like, that really should be way down the line, so he just doesn't come off as this gigantic fucking creep. I wanted to like the show. Usually when you have shows like this with, a pretty good person starring the show and a good cast, and it only lasts a few episodes, it's rare that, the show ends up being really good, but we have found examples of it. But in this case, I'm going to have to give it a cancel. So with that being said, I'm sorry to Mr. Robinson, only 1 out of 5, which is not enough to pass. So you have been canceled.
It should be 4.5, by the way, because he doesn't watch the shows.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone who listened to this episode. Stick around for 2 more weeks of Back to School Week. Again, go to S1E1pod.com, follow all our socials, hit us up, let us know the shows you want us to do. If you have any cool ideas for other future theme months, we'll listen to that as well. And be sure to check out our merch site. We don't make a lot of money off everything, but again, we love seeing the support, and hey, every penny counts. So with all that in mind, thank you guys for listening. Catch you again next week with another new episode. Thank you. Goodbye.
We got the best Kevin Spacey.
Well done.